The tension between Caitlin Clark and her coach Stephanie White just reached a breaking point that nobody saw coming. What started as mutual respect has transformed into something that's making insiders question whether this partnership can even survive the season. And the red flags? They've been there all along, hiding in plain sight. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening behind closed doors at the Indiana Fever. When Stephanie White took over as head coach in November 2024, everyone thought she'd be the perfect mentor for Clark, a former WNBA champion, someone who understood the transition from college to pro basketball. But here's what the cameras don't show you: the constant clashes, the conflicting philosophies, and most importantly, the way Clark's game has been completely disrupted under White's system. Before we dive deeper into this explosive situation, make sure you hit that like button if you're Team Caitlin Clark. Trust me, what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about their relationship. The first major red flag appeared during their initial training sessions in early 2025. Sources close to the team revealed that White immediately tried to reshape Clark's entire playing style. Not just minor adjustments. We're talking about fundamentally changing the way the Rookie of the Year approaches the game. Clark built her reputation on those deep three-pointers, the ones that made defenders look foolish. But White? She wanted Clark playing closer to the basket, focusing on mid-range shots that frankly weren't her strength. What happened next shocked everyone in the organization. During a particularly intense practice session in January, Clark openly questioned White's strategy in front of the Escher team. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. This wasn't just disagreement. This was a 22-year-old superstar challenging a coach with decades of experience. And White's response? She benched Clark for the next 20 minutes of practice. Can you imagine the face of your franchise, the player selling out arenas, sitting on the sidelines during crucial preparation time? But that wasn't even the worst part. The real controversy exploded when Clark suffered that groin injury on June 15th. Now, injuries happen in professional sports, we all know that. But here's what nobody's talking about. Multiple team insiders have confirmed that Clark's injury came directly from White's excessive training demands. We're talking about double sessions, extra conditioning work that pushed Clark's body beyond its limits. Remember, Clark played an entire season under Christie Sides without a single significant injury. 6 months under White, she's already dealing with physical setbacks that could derail her entire season. The medical staff reportedly warned White about the intensity of her training regimen. They saw the warning signs, the fatigue, the muscle tightness, the way Clark was compensating for exhaustion by altering her shooting form. But White dismissed these concerns, insisting that Clark needed to be toughened up for the professional level, as if winning Rookie of the Year wasn't tough enough already. What makes this situation even more explosive is the way White has been handling Clark in the media. Every press conference, every interview, there's this subtle undermining happening. White will praise Clark, sure, but there's always a but attached. Caitlin played well, but she needs to work on her decision making. Great shooting tonight, but we need more defensive intensity. It's death by 1,000 cuts, and Clark's camp is getting increasingly frustrated with the constant qualifications. The locker room dynamics have shifted dramatically too. Aaliyah Boston, who should be Clark's biggest ally as another young star, has reportedly been caught in the middle of this power struggle. Sophie Cunningham, one of the team's veterans and a player who brings incredible energy and leadership, has tried to mediate between the two camps, but even Cunningham's efforts haven't been enough to bridge the growing divide. Here's something that'll blow your mind. During a team meeting in late May, White allegedly told the entire roster that no player was bigger than the team, while staring directly at Clark. The message was crystal clear. This wasn't about team unity. This was about establishing dominance over the franchise's biggest star. Several players who were in that room have privately expressed their discomfort with how that moment went down. The tactical disagreements run even deeper than anyone realized. Clark's incredible court vision and passing ability, the skills that made her a generational talent, are being stifled by White's rigid offensive system. White wants structured plays, predetermined movements, everything mapped out. Clark thrives in chaos, in those moments where instinct takes over and magic happens. It's like asking Picasso to paint by numbers. But wait, it gets worse. The practice footage that leaked last month, the one where Clark looked visibly frustrated and disconnected, that was after White spent 45 minutes drilling the same play over and over, despite Clark executing it perfectly the first 15 times. Players were exhausted, morale was dropping, and Clark's body language said everything. She wasn't just tired, she was done with the micromanagement. The financial implications of this conflict are staggering. Clark's jersey sales have been keeping the Fever profitable. Her presence alone has increased attendance by 60%. Sponsors are lining up specifically because of her star power, and White seems determined to dim that star in favor of her system. It's not just bad coaching, it's bad business. What really exposed the depth of this problem was Clark's recent interview where she was asked about her development under White. Her response? 20 seconds of silence before giving the most generic answer possible. Coach White has a lot of experience and I'm learning every day. That's not praise, that's diplomatic damage control. Compare that to how she used to gush about her college coaches, and the difference is night and day. The other players are starting to pick sides, whether they want to or not. The veterans who remember White's playing days tend to support her old school approach. The younger players, especially those who grew up watching Clark dominate in college, are quietly questioning whether this coaching style belongs in the modern game. It's creating factions within the team that could destroy their chemistry for years to come. Training camp sources have revealed another shocking detail. White has been limiting Clark's shooting practice time, insisting she needs to focus more on defensive drills. Let that sink in. You have one of the greatest shooters in women's basketball history, and you're telling her to spend less time perfecting her deadliest weapon? It's like telling a Formula 1 driver to practice parallel parking instead of racing. The psychological warfare extends beyond the court too. White has reportedly instituted a policy where players can't speak to media without clearing their talking points with her first. This isn't standard procedure, this is control. Clark, who's always been authentic and accessible with fans, is now giving robotic responses that sound nothing like her true personality. If you're as shocked as I am about what's happening to Caitlin Clark, drop a comment below with your thoughts. Should the Fever step in before this gets worse? The injury situation deserves more scrutiny too. Medical professionals who've reviewed Clark's training schedule under White have expressed serious concerns about the long-term impact on her body. We're not just talking about missing a few games, we're talking about potentially shortening her career by years. The explosive movements White demands, combined with the excessive repetition, create a perfect storm for chronic injuries. Here's an insider secret that hasn't been reported anywhere else. Clark's agent has already had preliminary discussions with Fever management about the coaching situation. They haven't issued ultimatums yet, but the message is clear. Something needs to change, or Clark's camp will start exploring their options. Remember, she's the face of the WNBA's future. She has leverage that White seems to be ignoring. The contrast with how Christy Sides handled Clark is stark. Sides let Clark be Clark. She recognized that generational talents need freedom to create, not chains to restrict them. Under Sides, Clark was flourishing, growing, adapting to the professional game at her own pace. Under White, she looks like she's playing with a straitjacket on. What makes this even more frustrating is that White was supposed to be the solution. Her championship pedigree, her understanding of the modern game, her ability to develop young talent, it all looked perfect on paper. But paper doesn't account for personality clashes, philosophical differences, and the ego battles that can tear a team apart. The upcoming season is make or break for this relationship. If Clark continues to struggle under White's system, if the injuries keep piling up, if the tension keeps building, something will have to give. The Fever can't afford to lose Clark. She's not just their best player, she's their entire marketing strategy, their ticket sales, their relevance in a competitive sports market. Other coaches around the league are watching this situation closely. They see what White is doing to Clark and they're taking notes. Not on what to do, but on what not to do when you have a transcendent talent on your roster. It's becoming a cautionary tale about how rigid coaching can suffocate greatness. The fans have started to notice too. Social media is filled with comparisons of Clark's college highlights versus her current play. The joy, the creativity, the fearlessness, it's all been replaced by hesitation and frustration. Attendance might still be high, but the energy in the arena has shifted. People came to see Caitlin Clark, not Stephanie White's system. This situation reminds me of other coach-player conflicts that ended badly. The kind where stubbornness on both sides led to wasted seasons and damaged careers. But this feels different because Clark is so young, so talented, and so important to the league's future. The stakes couldn't be higher. The resolution to this conflict will define both of their legacies. If White can't adapt her coaching style to maximize Clark's abilities, she'll go down as the coach who couldn't handle greatness. If Clark can't find a way to work within White's system, questions about her coachability will follow her everywhere. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. This might already be past the point of no return. The trust is broken, the respect is questionable, and the results speak for themselves. Clark isn't playing her best basketball, the team isn't reaching its potential, and everyone can see the elephant in the room. The Fever organization needs to make a decision soon. Do they back their new coach and risk alienating their franchise player, or do they side with Clark and admit they made a mistake with the coaching hire? There's no middle ground here, no compromise that satisfies everyone. What happens next will shock the entire WNBA. Whether it's a trade demand, a coaching change, or an unexpected reconciliation, this story is far from over. The red flags Caitlin Clark has exposed about Stephanie White aren't just warning signs, they're sirens screaming that something has to change before it's too late.